Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, good day to you. Depending where you are in the world, because I'm here live in London, you're wherever you are. Doing our nighttime devotion. The devotional is called Conflict and Courage. The title today, What an Epitaph. What an epitaph. Wherefore come out from among them, and be ye separate, saith the Lord. 2 Corinthians 6:17. Many who started out in life with as fair and promising morning in their limited sphere as Solomon had in his exalted station, through one false and irrevocable step in the marriage relation, lose their souls, draw others down to ruin with them. As Solomon's wives turned his heart away from God to idolatry, so do frivolous companions who have no depth of principle turn away the hearts of those who were once noble and true to vanity, corrupting pleasures, and downright vice. Solomon flattered himself that his wisdom and the power of his example would lead his wives from idolatry to the worship of the true God, and also that the alliances thus formed would draw the nations around about into close touch with Israel. Vain hope. Solomon's mistake in regarding himself as strong enough to resist the influence of heathen associates was fatal. And fatal too, the deception that led him to hope that, notwithstanding a disregard of God's law on his part, others might be led to revere and obey its sacred precepts. Let the sad memory of Solomon's apostasy warn every soul to shun the same precipice. The greatest king that ever wielded a scepter, of whom it has been said that he was the beloved of God, through misplaced affection became contaminated and was miserably forsaken of his God. The mightiest ruler of the earth had failed to rule his own passions. Solomon may have been saved, as by fire, yet his repentance could not efface those high places, nor demolish those stones which remained as evidences of his crimes. He dishonored God, choosing rather to be controlled by lust than to be a partaker of the divine nature. What a legacy Solomon's life has committed to those who would use his example to cover their own base actions. He must either transmit a heritage of good or evil. Shall our lives and our example be a blessing or a curse? Shall people look at our graves and say, "He ruined me," or "He saved me"? What an epitaph. He ruined me, or he saved me. Solomon, who was chosen to build the temple for God, the home for God. David, his father David, was given the plan, but Solomon was chosen to build it. Solomon, who was so humble when God said, "What is it you would like from me? What would you like me to do for you?" And all Solomon asked for was wisdom and discernment so that he could lead the nation of Israel. But of course, in doing so, God gave him everything. To the point, though, that Solomon flattered himself with his own wisdom and power. He had so many wives that ultimately led him to idolatry, instead of leading them to the worship of his God. He thought he could do it himself because he became so full of himself. And yet, he forgot, neglected to trust and rely in God. And thus he dishonored God, choosing rather to be controlled by his pride, his lust, rather than choosing the divine nature. And what would he be remembered by? He ruined me, or he saved me. That would depend on what part you had in his life at what time. Because it would be said, when the Queen of Sheba visited him, she turned to God. After leaving Solomon, she converted the whole of Africa to the one true living God. Yes, there was still idolatry there, but most of Africa, which was then called, back then, the whole of it was called Ethiopia. And then of course it got broken up. But she was the queen of all of Africa, or what was then called Ethiopia. And she took the one true living God back. So, in essence, Solomon saved a whole lot of people. But by the end, he ruined a whole lot of people also. What happened at his end, I don't know. What will happen at my end? What will happen at your end?